There's a bomb in your school, and I'm going to detonate it unless you expel these furries.
That's a threat that might have been delivered to Mount Nebo Middle School, located slightly south of Salt Lake City in Utah. In April of this year, the school was thrust into the headlines for what must be one of the most obscure but infamous furry stories I've ever encountered. This all begins with whispers of furry activity occurring within education grounds. According to the Salt Lake Tribune, anti-furry sentiment started growing amongst conservative groups within the school. This was initially reported on by a YouTube channel called Life is Driving, and in this video, students at the school claimed that furry classmates were biting, scratching, barking and pouncing on them, and were allowed to without consequence. Retaliation was allegedly not allowed, and this led to a growing rift between the furry and non-furry students. It was then decided that in an attempt to try and make a difference, the children had to stage a walkout. So believe it or not, this actually happened. This group of Utah school kids protested about 15 or so furries in their school, so they staged a walkout and people were driving by them on the street honking their horns in support. And that's when the situation began to pick up some traction, being reported on by the Libs of TikTok Twitter account and being seen more than 14 million times. It's also gained more than 50,000 views on YouTube. Now you might be wondering how it could be that these furry students were able to get away with this. If they truly were attacking others, scratching and barking at their classmates, surely the school faculty would step in. But the students at this Utah establishment actually had a conspiracy. You see, one of the furries that were apparently doing this was the daughter of the principal.
Why do you think the principal hasn't put a stop to this?
Because her daughter is a furry and she supports it. And if we get bit or something, they get mad at us.
We get suspended, not them. Even if they hurt us to do anything, we get suspended.
They scratch, bite, and she's also afraid of getting sued.
So the idea that these protesting children had was that because these furry kids had a girl on the inside, they were now impervious to consequences. According to the protesters, the furries were apparently spraying people with Febreze in the eyes and putting litter boxes in the bathrooms.
How else do they attack you guys?
They either bite us, they scratch us, they
pounce on us.
They pounce on us. And then they get perfume. They run on all fours and pounce on people.
Why are they spraying you with Febreze?
Just because they don't. Because we apparently have rabies.
And there's a rumor that they were putting litter boxes in the girls' bathroom and the boys. They started putting litter boxes.
I heard that was just a rumor.
No, it's true.
Is it something you've seen?
Yeah.
They also claimed that some of these furries were wearing clothing that some of the non-furry students thought were highly sexualized.
What kind of animal costumes are they wearing?
Cats, dogs, foxes.
Like, what do you mean, like a full-on bodysuit or what?
They're like tails, ears. It's very sexual and inappropriate. They're wearing butt plug tails underneath like skirts. They're wearing dog collars to school with leashes hanging off. It's just not okay.
This walkout was fairly large in scale, with dozens upon dozens of students taking to the streets of Utah, holding up signs, speaking with reporters, and protesting the situation. The number was reported to be around 75 in total. Obviously, at this age, it's very possible that some of these kids were just using this as a way to skip class. I can't say for certain just how widespread the harassment at the hands of the furry students was. All that we have to go off are the testimonies of the protesting students. Especially since, according to the mother of one student that had friends that were furries, some of the non-furry students announced that they identified as hunters and were planning on going around the school hunting furries.
I identify as a hunter. So yeah, they're gonna go hunt furries at school.
So the truth of this situation is shrouded in mystery. I could very much see the possibility of these kids picking on the furries, but then when the furries retaliate, they don't see that they were the ones that caused it. That said, I can't say that the furries were the victims for sure. The furries of the school, nor the school higher-ups ever commented on some of the more serious allegations, such as the furry students spraying the non-furry students in the eyes with Febreze. Also, the claim about the litter boxes might be true. I have no way of confirming that it's false. However, I also found reports on Reddit from several different people that work at educational facilities, and they claim that the reason why schools have recently started introducing litter boxes within classrooms is because they're parts of school shooting kits. So the idea is that students can use the bathroom without having to leave the classroom in the case of an active shooter. So much better, I guess. Regardless, tensions at Mount Nebo were at an all-time high. There was even a petition made stating that the way that the furries dressed was against the school dress code. The petition raked in more than 3,000 signatures and included several different articles written about the incident. However, that's not where the story ends, because after this came to blows, an action would be taken that would cement the events of Mount Nebo Middle School into infamy. As shortly after the protest, the school was hit with a bomb threat. I'm unfortunately not joking. Principal Kelly Taylor emailed the parents to say, and I quote, "Dear parents and guardians, we're writing to inform you that Mount Nebo Middle School received a non-credible bomb threat overnight. As always, we take all threats seriously to ensure the safety of our students and staff." The Payson Police Department immediately conducted a thorough sweep of the school building and found no evidence to support the threat. Based on their investigation, they have determined it safe to hold school. Out of an abundance of caution, we will have an increased police presence at the school today. Our staff is also committed to providing the structures needed to support our students. The Nebo School District Public Information Officer, Seth Sorensen, stated, "We have not observed or had reported any of these types of incidents in the school. The claims being made online are all third-party or someone told me statements, with no first-person accounts. These rumours are unfounded and are not occurring in our schools." But this is contradictory to the video of the students at the walkout though. In that video, they express first-hand accounts of what they claim to be attacks on them by the furry kids. So either these children are lying, or they were actually being truthful not only about the furry attacks, but also the cover-up by the education higher-ups. There must have been some kind of breaking point. This kind of thing doesn't just spring up overnight. These children were all riled up, and when asked questions, they answered the same at the same time. So either this was all rehearsed and a way to try and get out of school, or maybe this was a problem at the school, but it was an open secret denied by the staff who tried to sweep it under the rug to save face. But the school was then reportedly hit with a second bomb threat, and then a third, and then a fourth. According to KUTV, a local news station, the police had not yet confirmed if these threats had even come from inside Utah. So it's entirely possible that these threats came from someone who was completely removed from the situation, who had just heard about the news. Whatever the case, this was one of the most insane furry incidents that I have ever heard of. But that's just one of the many different unhinged incidents related to furries that we have today. In this video, we'll be diving into a few more to uncover just what kind of jiggery pokery is truly going on in the furry community. From possible satanic furries to the BLFC pizza incident, we have plenty of stories to talk about today, and I don't want to waste 1 second. So let's quickly move on to our next incident, that being the Furry Raiders. The furries of the far right, commonly known as the Furry Raiders, are often considered a dark spot on the reputation of furries around the world. Founded by Foxler Nightfire, the group formed under this logo, which looks extremely visually similar to another flag that contains a red background behind a white circle and black design, if you get what I'm hinting at. The group was initially founded on the video game Second Life back in the late 2000s, with the goal of trying to help improve the furry fandom by providing resources and services so everyone has equal opportunity. On their website, they state that their mission is to uphold the values of free expression within the furry community, free of exclusion and prejudice based on race, sex, creed, gender, identity, sexual orientation, or political affiliation. So let's take a look at Foxler Nightfire, the founder of this group himself, explaining how he found himself down this neo-Nazi rabbit hole.
I started researching, learning a little bit about it, and I eventually found out a little bit more information about like who Hitler was and what was going down with the whole history issue and why people were so emotionally attached to it. And I decided to actually get involved with some neo-Nazi groups. to see how they were like. You know, you can't judge people right away. You gotta go in there and get your hands dirty. Well, your paws dirty. Whoops. You know, I signed up for the little form online, paid my $25 membership, and they wanted me to show that I was faithful to Nazism. So I made some comments on YouTube to show this loyalty based under what people express. And I got into it. They asked me a few questions. The first one was, are you white? I'm not white. I'm a mutt, if anybody doesn't know that. I'm part Thai, part German. And after that occurred, they also asked me a few other questions, like what this whole furry thing was about. And I said to them, I dress up as an animal. And, you know, I find anthropomorphics hot. And then they were like, get the fuck out.
The Furry Raiders have been around for quite some time now, and to be honest, I think that I could make a whole documentary on them. Several lengthy videos have already been made about the group, but for the purposes of this video, I'm only going to speak about one of the group's most infamous incidents. Over the years, they've made themselves some enemies, perhaps most notably Diotas Devil, a queer furry that, according to her Wikifur, has a furry sanctuary where she houses homeless furries. And just to shed a bit more light on her, Diotas Devil is described as a union millwright and 12-year member of the Furry Fandom who spent 6 months infiltrating multiple alt-right and neo-Nazi online groups, observing and recording how they recruited, organised and operated. And within her own articles, Diotas Devil has provided countless screenshots of conversations had within the Furry Raiders group chats. Now keep in mind, this is clearly not representative of all furries. Most furries that I know share few to no similarities with neo-Nazis. But this group, even if small, is in fact present, with one of the group chats showing more than 100 members. This kind of information makes for a really catchy headline, so many articles throughout the internet have been made about the furry community's Nazi problem, even if these people are in the smallest minority within the community. However, the problem does seem to in fact exist, and therefore it would be a flat out lie to suggest that there are no Nazi furries. But from politics to religion, we're going to turn our attention to a pair of furries that, just like the Furry Raiders, also followed a symbol that drew massive amounts of controversy. That symbol supposedly being the pentagram. This story takes place in Firestone Park within northern Sacramento, California. This park, fit with playground equipment, is located only a 5-minute walk away from Olive Grove Elementary School, so it's very likely that after class ends, a lot of the children from that school head over to Firestone Park with their parents to frolic about and bask in the carefree and joyous nature of youth. But what would happen after a pair of furries arrived on the scene? Worse yet, what would happen when a pair of Satan-worshipping furries arrived on the scene? That's right, one of these furries that was spotted was seen with a red pentagram painted on its fur. The pentagram is often used in Satanism and is heavily linked with the devil generally. Well, after being spotted with the pentagram, local parents began to believe that devil-worshipping furries had infiltrated this park. They apparently began to make a habit out of loitering around this park, making TikToks and arguing with the local parents. The parents didn't like the pentagram, and they didn't like the fact that these individuals had their identities masked. Worse yet, apparently the contents of the furries' TikToks were also causing some alarm. According to WSPD Local 6, one of these furries made a video on TikTok in which they mimed shooting up a room before turning the mimed gun on themselves. And with these furries being in such close proximity to a school, this caused even more panic and upset. I was eventually able to track down the furry's TikTok account, and my word, was this a treasure trove of good old-fashioned furry cringe. Please do not harass the furries associated with this account. I do not condone that in any way whatsoever. That said, I'm now going to show you a few clips from the account so that you can get a grasp of the kind of content that they upload.
Behind me. Baby, the only thing I see when I look behind me is 50 pounds of ass! I ain't saying nothing.
Life without parole.
It was him. Him. That dude hiding behind that girl right there.
It's been a year, Daddy. I really miss you. Mommy says you went to the store to get milk. Anyways, I'm failing all my classes, and Mommy hits me very frequently, and she changed my name to Tickle Tipson.
Most of the other videos are just of them dancing, and I can't play them because of copyrights. I also want to mention that based on the kind of content they upload, it doesn't seem as though they take themselves too seriously. I think that if you're a parent, you might see these people dressing up as furries, and because you don't really understand the culture, you might think that they're very strange and maybe a bit unpredictable, and as a parent, your number one job, the primary goal, is to keep your children safe from any potential threats, so it makes sense that this might be cause for concern. But these videos seem satirical to me. I can't speak about the gun one because I didn't see it. Maybe it's been taken down from TikTok. I just couldn't find it. But personally, I do not believe these furries to be a danger to the school. It seems as though the pair share the account with possibly some other furries, although this could just be them in different costumes. But one thing that I didn't see when I initially wrote this script was that one of the furries, the satanic one, has some sort of an animal skull as their mask. This is apparently called a skull dog, and this skull dog has blood coming out of its lips. This might be deemed as too scary for kids to see up close, so I could understand if parents don't want their children to see this. However, there was a big problem with the parents' protests, and that was that it's a free country. These furries hadn't broken any laws, they were in a public place, the park wasn't on school property or anything, and it's not illegal to wear a fursuit with a pentagram painted on your side. And so there wasn't much that people could actually do. The TikTok was a concern, but this furry hadn't done anything yet. Making a video like that is also not illegal. Also, I saw some comments saying that this was not the pentagram, and I'm not too clued up on these things, so Satanists assemble down in the comments, let me know, is this the Satan symbol, is this the pentagram, because I'm really not too sure. And whilst you're down there, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this and you haven't already yet. And by the way, that's not just exclusive to the Satanists, I want all of you guys to, if you please could, I would truly appreciate it. With that said, let's now move on to our next story. This one concerning some of the good that's been done within the furry community. It's very easy to pick the low-hanging fruit and make a video completely dedicated to ragging on furries. But let's talk about the time they once saved the day. The year was 2020. The location, San Jose, California. The event, Further Confusion, a convention better known as FurCon. Our tale begins when a group of furries attending the con were outside when a blue car pulled up and came to a complete stop. Within the car, it was said that a woman's scream could be heard. A group of furries look over to see that this woman is fighting within the car. She was the driver of the car, throwing fists with the passenger, who we now know to be Dimitri Hardnett, a 22-year-old that had no idea what fate was about to befall him. The furry sprung into action and tried to help the woman. As described by Robbie Ryans, a 26-year-old DJ furry that witnessed this, he stated, "We heard a woman's screams coming from inside and saw the passenger throwing full fists at whoever was driving. We got up and ran towards the car. My friend pulled open the door and we both held on to the attacker. The girl driver was yelling at him to get out as he started trying to fight us off. After this, a further 4 furries jumped into the brawl and wrestled this menace." And I've just been informed by our producer that we've recently received video footage of this incident going down. So let's roll that clip.
Hey, no, Joe, no, Joe, stop!
I told you.
Joe!
She's safe now. Put that out and let's go.
Joe!
So yeah, what you can see here is a group of furries and furry convention goers performing a citizen's arrest. As it turns out, one of the furries here, known as Kinzed Shiritsuki, claimed within an interview with the Dogpatch Press that they studied self-defense. The article reads, "I threw my paws to the ground and took my head and collar off. The last thing they see before the fur pile." As a result of this, Hardnett was picked up by police, and the 22-year-old was booked into Santa Clara County Jail for domestic abuse. I reached out to Robbie Ryans, the furry DJ, for a comment about the situation, and he actually got back to me on Twitter saying that he'd answer, But then he didn't, the cheeky gimp, so I don't have any additional information to give you. So we'll just move on. And I want to continue talking about the unhinged incidents that happened within the furry community that they weren't at fault for. And to do that, we need to take a trip to our own backyard, YouTube. As a big name creator named Anthpo recently returned from a hiatus, but immediately fell into hot water after many people thought that his furry video went much too far. So Anthpo is a content creator with 1.8 million subscribers that, as I said before, left YouTube in 2023 but returned a few months ago. His first big upload upon his return was "I spent 200 days undercover as a furry," in which, as the title suggests, he spent a considerable amount of time creating a persona and infiltrating the community. And in this video, he does something that would mark his return in an extremely controversial way. To explain it, I'm going to play this clip from a creator named Michael Manus, who described what happened in this video in an extremely succinct fashion.
So after taking a year away from YouTube, YouTuber Anthpo uploads his comeback video, "I spent 200 days undercover as a furry," in which he spends 200 days becoming a furry, he goes to a furry convention, and then he allegedly secretly films and participates in a real furry orgy, in which then he takes the footage and uploads it to his 1.7 million subscriber YouTube channel. And now obviously people are accusing him of being a sex criminal, because if what he did was actually secretly filmed, then that is extremely criminal, allegedly, in my opinion.
So yeah, upon his return, Anthpo immediately decides to infiltrate a furry sex party and naturally decides to record it. The problem with this is that it's generally thought that he did not receive the consent of these furries to record this and upload it for the 800,000 plus people that have since viewed the video. This has led to him receiving a lot of backlash, with people coming out on both Twitter and Reddit primarily to call him out for his behaviour. It's understandable that maybe he wanted to have a big, groundbreaking video to mark his return, but even fans of him were saying that this video crossed the line. As a result of this, the video was later edited in the YouTube studio. Anthpo then came out on Twitter to address this controversy, saying, "I want to clear up some misconceptions from the furry video. I removed 2 minutes from the video after speaking to one of the people involved, and they asked to be removed. They did not want the situation to become a huge deal for their sake. I'm trying to avoid doing more damage than I've already done. I did not film audio or video of anything sexual, just cuddling. I am not here to defend myself, just wanted to clarify. All audio was remade. Recording was mentioned beforehand. A phone was visibly set up in the hotel room, and afterwards everything was heavily blurred or remade entirely. I had spoken to lawyers and checks were done by YouTube. This being said, this does not excuse anything I did as anything less than horrible. I'm disappointed in myself and am so sorry to those specifically involved and to those who feel betrayed. For those criticising me for perpetuating stereotypes amongst the furry community, I want to apologise and emphasise that wasn't my goal in any capacity. I greatly appreciate those of you who reached out with genuine concern. I turned the video into a fundraiser for the Trevor Project." So, according to Anthpo, it would seem as though the furries at the party knew they were being recorded. If he's lying, then I'm pretty sure he committed a crime here, furry orgy or not. But if you think that's bad, our next story is perhaps the most impure furry incident that has ever transpired. And similar to Anthpo's video, this one also contains a furry NSFW party. This story's mere existence could be classed as irrefutable proof that God himself had no dominion within the walls of this con. For those of you who know, you know. For those of you who don't, it's pizza time. It was 2021 at a furry convention called Biggest Little FurCon, or BLFC, an event held in Reno, Nevada. Footage of this event shows nothing too out of the ordinary for furrycon standards, but it would be at BLFC 2021 where it could be argued that the furry community would suffer forevermore at the hands of a few individuals that did something so heinous that Lucifer himself would cry weeping tears if he witnessed it. On the 22nd of September 2021, a Twitter user named Maned Wolfie created this poll. Mutuals at BLFC. I have an important question. Do you want to come on my pizza party at BLFC? If so, please reply here so I can get a head count. All attending guests get free pizza and drinks, and it is optional if you want to come on my pizza, with or without my help. This poll was responded to almost 600 times, with about 68% of the respondents saying yes. After this, there were apparently follow-up tweets about this despicable desire. Anyways, a month later, and this sickening scheme would be brought to fruition. The day had finally arrived. BLFC had gotten underway, and Maine would have their party. Italians, look away now. I was able to find this vlog of a group of furries with Maine featuring in the video. These are some of the last recorded moments before the sacrilege would take place, and the world of furries would be changed forever. Maine would apparently order 6 pizzas to the Grand Sierra Resort and Casino, and then share photographs of other people at this event supposedly pleasuring themselves above this staple of Italian cuisine. But under the new Twitter nickname Semen Demon, Maned Wolfie claimed that a total of 19 people had added their own flavours to this witch's brew. However, that's not where it ends, as in a now deleted tweet, Maned Wolfie stated that the pizza was left out in the hallway. So now, any unfortunate passerby with an insatiable hankering for a sweet blend of tomato, cheese and meat might also experience a secret sauce topping if temptation prevails and they decide to grab a slice. A Twitter user named Zeppelin Coyote then obliviously tweeted out saying that they had tasted the pizza, noting that it was very salty. But I'd very much expect that to be a joke. Nonetheless, a story like this is naturally going to go viral, and word began to spread quickly throughout Twitter. Many of the furries involved were lambasted by others. People were saying that this was disgusting behaviour, that it was a hazard, that it gave the furry community a bad name, and that it was very much possible that this pizza could be encountered by a minor, since teenagers can often get jobs within hotels. Not to mention that this would be an abhorrent thing to subject any staff member to clean up, adult or not. This person said that maybe if this was done at Maned Wolfie's house, they could let it slide, but doing it out at a hotel was the wrong move. According to Know Your Meme, at 1:15 AM on October 23rd, 3 hours after the pizza was placed in the hallway, Maned Wolfie tweeted out that the pizza was placed in the trash. Later that day, they deleted the original tweet with the photograph of the pizza, replacing it with a tweet in which they wrote that it was not left in the hallway, but was instead thrown away. This was a permanent stain on the reputation of the furry community, and an incident that, going on 3 years later, has still not been forgotten about. Now, here's the thing. For the first time ever on the FoxAkimbo channel, I have an exclusive. I reached out to Maned Wolfie to see if he'd be interested in speaking about this, and to my surprise, he actually got back to me. He said that he'd be happy to sit down and discuss even more unhinged things that he's done at other furry events, so if you want a window into exclusive, never before seen discussions about the darkest depths of the furry community, you'll have to like this video and subscribe to the channel. If the demand is there, I'll make a follow-up to this featuring Maned Wolfie. And if you enjoyed this, then why don't you take a look at my video about brony incidents next? If you had fun with this video, I see no reason why you wouldn't love that one too. Aside from that, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.